Good morning, South Jersey. My name is Abby Maloney, and I'm the president and CEO of Capital Analytics. Welcome to the second launch conference of our Invest South Jersey report, an in-depth analysis of what makes the region tick, what lies ahead, and what challenges we may face. Thank you all for being here today. I am particularly delighted to kick off today's event as I grew up in South Jersey. I have been in Miami for about 10 years now, but if you ask anyone, I will always be a Jersey girl. South Jersey shaped who I am today, from my safe and historic upbringing in Haddonfield, New Jersey, to my summers at the Jersey Shore, sometimes Ocean City, sometimes LBI, to day trips into the city that Patco made super easy to visit world-class museums, take a dance class, root for the Eagles or the Phillies, or just grab a cheesesteak. South Jersey taught me what it was to understand work, live, and play in an idyllic location. And that is what I know our media platform, that is why I knew our media platform would be a perfect fit for the area. We know that while we are a part of the Philly region, we are unique. And while the world might look at the state and lump us all together, we know that South and North and even Central Jersey are distinct. And therefore, a platform like ours sheds light on the fact that each area has unique business and investment opportunities that we know here at Capital Analytics how to highlight to an international audience. For an area that gave me so much, I am happy I can give back in my way, build and promote business in a region certainly worth it. But enough of my experiences, let's talk about the program today. While there's a great deal of uncertainty in South Jersey around the pandemic that now seems to be a regular part of our daily life, there's also a great deal of optimism in the region. That's not only evident across nearly 200 interviews that we conducted for this very report, it's also evident in projects being planned and the sheer number of tourists who flocked to the Jersey Shore this past summer. There's pent-up demand, and where there's pent-up demand, there's economic success. That success is already being displayed in the hot housing market. The region's success will be further fueled by the new Glassboro and Camden rail that could finally come through with the funds from the federal infrastructure plan. New industries are also coming into play, with the e-commerce boom that transpired as a result of the shutdowns and self-isolation, spurring an explosion in industrial real estate and warehousing opportunities. Cannabis is another emerging sector with a great deal of promise to the region. And on the technology front, aviation and drone development is front and center. And of course, we can't mention South Jersey these days without mentioning the burgeoning offshore wind power industry that's starting to ramp up and promises to be an economic anchor going forward. It all amounts to a great deal of potential in the region, brimming with opportunity. Indeed, there's a transformation taking place in South Jersey that's expected to lead a strong post-pandemic economy. While we're not out of the woods yet with COVID-19, there's no doubt that South Jersey is moving forward. At Capital Analytics, we're also excited to move forward, building on a very successful year, given everything that has transpired. Like so many other businesses, we saw the pandemic as an opportunity to change things up. Business intelligence is now more vital than ever, whether it's print, digital, or virtual conferences like these. First, we expanded our talented team here at Capital Analytics and have entered into 7 new markets in this post-pandemic climate: Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Raleigh-Durham, San Antonio, Nashville, Jacksonville, and our neighbor to the north, North Jersey. Next, our Invest Insights video platform has exploded. Season 4 has just been released, and our most recent video for South Jersey featured Andrew Saporito, the Executive Director and CEO of the South Jersey Port Corporation. We're finding that our partners, like yourselves, want to participate, want a community connection, and want to get the message out that the world continues to move forward. We expanded that video platform to a podcast so that our readers and our viewers can listen to us on the go. And that we could not be more pleased with our adaptation to virtual events. Transforming our live events to the virtual platform last year was incredibly nerve-wracking, but we've discovered that we have a new talent here at Capital Analytics. After 10 successful virtual events over the last year, or 10 plus, I should say, we are here today with well over 400 registered attendees to this webinar. While some might be experiencing Zoom malaise, we find that our viewers are leaning in. Our global subscribers and readers have never been more engaged. If people are going to invest during uncertain times, they want to be even better informed, and they're coming to us to do just that. So as you can see, the key is for us, as with so many of you joining here today, has been the ability to transform. Transformation, in fact, is our adopted theme for this year, and it will be a central element of our discussion today as we look to the future of the counties in the region, real estate, and finance, and what transformations have taken place. In all of our discussions with the hundreds of business and political leaders, a common thread is how far we've come in such a short amount of time. What was expected to take years has taken months. As a community, there's little doubt that we've transformed for the better, emerging stronger than ever. I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsors for today's event. Our gold sponsor, M&T Bank, our silver sponsor, Ocean First Bank, bronze sponsors, Connor Strong, Gateway Mortgage, and Title America, and our honored sponsors, First National Bank of Elmer, Fulton Bank, Plaster Greenberg, Fox Pemberthy and Den at Morgan Stanley, HFM Investments Advisors, and TD Bank. Thank you. It is with your support that we can continue to bring high-level speakers and content to South Jersey. I would also like to recognize the team that worked tirelessly on this year's report. Josh Greenberg and Joey Garand, thank you. You've outdone yourselves. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our opening keynote, Jose Lozano, the President and CEO of Choose New Jersey. Jose, can you please turn on your video and your audio? I see him coming along. I got video, I got audio. Jose, how are you?
Hey, good. Good morning. How are you?
So good to see you again.
Same here.
I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. All right. Hey, thank you all for having me here today. I'm really excited to join the Invest South Jersey launch and, happy to lend a few of my thoughts on how South Jersey is, ripe for growth. As New Jersey's leading economic development organization, Choose New Jersey markets the state as the best place to grow a business, both here and abroad. Our mission is to create a stronger, more prosperous New Jersey, by stimulating job creation and obviously investments. We attract new companies, facilitate collaborations, and pitch the many, many attributes that I think you all will agree with me and assets of our great state has to offer, including the unique advantages of South Jersey's location, with the support of the state agencies and private partners, like Abby just mentioned, we provide a full range of complementary services to companies interested in calling New Jersey home. Since 2010, we have assisted over 300 companies, resulting in about 19,000 jobs and generating about almost $6 billion in capital investments. When we're presenting to businesses, we tout New Jersey as an innovation hub, enhancing our talents and our location, and obviously our quality of life. And as many in the audience already know, New Jersey is home to the highest concentration of scientists and engineers in the US. And we offer access to New York City and, of course, Philadelphia, and many companies can reach about the 38 million consumers that are just within 2 hours, 2-hour drive. So, for folks that don't know, we are ranked as the #1 state in the US to live. We're #1 state for public school systems, and South Jersey has it all and way more than folks even realize. It's a bit quieter and offers you more affordable space and a little bit more room to grow. And we've seen a really steady growth and an interest in South Jersey, especially during this pandemic. According to Cushman Wakefield, the South Jersey industry market activity in 2020 was 125% greater than it was in 2019. And I'm sure you'll all hear more about it in the boom from the real estate panel later this afternoon. But we've seen a really good amount of activity driven by food and the beverage manufacturing distribution. In fact, South Jersey is putting us on the map when it comes to the plant-based innovation. Oatly, which I personally consume, the Swedish oat milk leader, chose South Jersey to meet the North America demand. And in 2018, Oatly opened up a processing plant in Millville. It's first outside of Europe. In addition to the meal alternative, Impossible Burger got its start right here at the Rutgers Food Innovation Center. The Rutgers Food Innovation Center in Bridgeton is the only soft landing incubator in the world devoted to food. And the company credits the support and the guidance provided by the Food Innovation Center for helping them scale up the production and seed the market. And this past April, just a couple of months ago, Choose New Jersey helped the meal delivery company Freshly expand their footprint right here to New Jersey. It's to better serve their East Coast customers. The company chose East Greenwich, or Greenwich, the way you want to say it, to open its second assembly distribution facility to ship about 1.6 million meals per week. And it's expected to bring about 340 new jobs to the region. South Jersey is becoming a hotspot for the emerging industries. Its unique position to become America's capital for offshore wind, which Amy which I'm sure folks will be talking about in a bit. South Jersey is home to the largest offshore wind farm in the US under development. Danish company Ørsted and PSE&G will develop an ocean wind project off the coast of Atlantic City and will deliver clean energy, reliable energy to power about 500,000 homes. In Salem, the New Jersey wind port will be the first port dedicated solely to offshore wind in the US, and it's about a $400 million investment is expected to create about 1,500 manufacturing, assembly, and operational jobs. These projects are exciting developments for the state to reach our goal of 100% clean energy by 2050. To put the growth in perspective, in 2019, Choose New Jersey's clean energy pipeline was nearly non-existent. And in 2020, about 4% of our international pipeline. This year, it has doubled. There are about 30 clean energy projects currently in our pipeline, and many of them are looking to be near the Salem County Port. 10 years from now, I firmly believe, and I've said this in every interview that I've been a part of, I firmly believe that South Jersey's economy will be a sole focal point in the clean energy system. You will not be able to talk about offshore or clean energy without mentioning South Jersey. But we can't talk about the strength of South Jersey's economy without mentioning its higher education institutions. Rutgers, Camden, and Rowan and Stockton, my alma mater, are filling that talent pipeline, nurturing startups and contributing to R&D. They're training the workforce of tomorrow and forming important public-private partnerships. And we've seen this tremendous growth in the last few years, especially at Stockton's new Atlantic City campus. Looking ahead, I can say for certain that the future of South Jersey is extremely bright. And Choose New Jersey will support the development of offshore wind and food innovation and the collaboration with our local and our county partners to figure this out. We continue to work to bring more companies to the area, especially those looking for available space in a prime location with a really good skilled workforce. And I'm literally thrilled that Capital Analytics chose to highlight South Jersey in this new magazine, and really look forward to seeing the Invest North Jersey side published as well, and collaborating with them to highlight North Jersey as much as we've done South Jersey. And even though the state and the cities, other states and other cities around the country have seen really challenges in retaining and attracting new businesses because of COVID, I will tell you this: New Jersey's business climate has remained stable and is only strengthening. And I'm confident we're going to come out of this pandemic much stronger than we were before. So thank you so much for having me today. I hope you guys all enjoy the remainder of the program for today, which I'm sure will be spectacular.
Well, good morning. First of all, thank you, gracias, Jose, for your keynote speech and introductory remarks for the one and only annual Invest South Jersey Launch Conference 2021. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have the economic development organization that promotes business and investment opportunities in the state of New Jersey opening this event today. We're excited to continue joining forces in our common mission of business and investment promotion, not only with Choose New Jersey, but with all of the Invest participants and stakeholders. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Juan Clark, and I am the Regional Director for Capital Analytics, overseeing the company's expansion in the North region. I'll be taking over the South Jersey, actually I already did, from an outstanding job from my predecessor, Jack Miller, who's now specializing in the Southeast region of the country. I'm also taking the opportunity to brief you on some of the advancements on our front, including our market expansions into Minneapolis, St. Paul, Pittsburgh, San Antonio, Jacksonville, Nashville, and of course, North Jersey. Other markets are very close to their publishing date, such as Atlanta, Miami, Palm Beach, and Nashville, so stay tuned. If you know anyone in these cities who would like to participate in these reports, please reach out to any of our representatives and they will gladly assist. In addition, stay in touch by signing up to any of our market newsletters or receive a copy of our reports. Let me show you our brand new South Jersey 2021. It looks just beautiful. And next one will be just as good or even better. And you can email us to the contact@capitalA.com or visiting our website, capitalanalyticsassociates.com. Now it's with pleasure that I introduce our first panel, A Clear Vision, How South Jersey's Counties Are Working Towards Building a Stronger Economy. Moderating the panel is Stephen Polathas, so co-managing shareholder of Flaster Greenberg. Stephen, if you could please turn on your camera and unmute yourself so you can go ahead and introduce the panelists.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be a part of Invest South Jersey and the launch of this virtual conference. I'm Steve Pilates, co-managing shareholder of Velazquez Greenberg, born and raised in South Jersey. It's in light of all the challenges we've all had over the past year and a half, it's still been a very exciting time with a lot of economic activity. Speaking for my firm at Velazquez Greenberg, we've had an immense attraction of lateral candidates with extremely amazing talent, over 25 new attorneys over the last year and a half. And it's just a reflection of how busy our clients have been in South Jersey. And with that, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our esteemed panelists from the South Jersey area. We have Gerard Velazquez, who is president and CEO of the authority from Cumberland County. We have Ben Laurie, who is the Director of County Commissioners from Salem County. Lauren Moore, Executive Director from Atlantic County Economic Alliance. Leonard Desiderio, Commissioner and Vice Director from Cape May County. With all the activity and positive economic activity that we're seeing in light of all the challenges we've been dealing, I'd like to put out for the panelists to discuss what kind of projects and business activities have been keeping your organizations or your county busy during this last economic cycle over the last year, and share with the audience all the exciting activity that's been going on. So if we could start with Gerald, please.
Sure. For us, it's trying to figure out what happens next. We had a conversation in advance of this, and we all talked about the fact that, COVID obviously impacted us, but we're beyond that now. So the question for us is, where do we grow and how do we begin to have folks reinvest in our community? And for us, as Jose mentioned, we want to build off our food industry. The Food Innovation Center was created by Rutgers University. The authority actually built the Food Specialization Center, which would allow folks to commercialize their business here. And for us, we want to be the interim solution for private investment here in the county. So we seek out properties and opportunities that exist that a private sector person wouldn't typically locate or come to, and really facilitate that development for them. So for us, we become the quasi-developer, property developer, and site selector that allows for businesses to land here in Cumberland.
Wonderful. I'm just going to go across the screen to Lauren. What's happening in Atlantic County?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience. Greatly appreciate it. The opportunity to be able to talk about what we're doing here in Atlantic County post-pandemic. We're working our strategy. We have a pretty detailed economic development strategy. And in our strategy, we're working on our institutional foundational assets. And when I was, listening to the opening remarks, here I heard aviation and drones. We're largely focusing on the aviation innovation cluster. This is a new industry to New Jersey, right? Aviation is not new to New Jersey, but aviation research and development and aviation innovation is. And we're building off of the governor's, plans for aviation innovation and STEM. And we're actually building a, 400,000 square foot aviation research and development tech park. And we're doing this centered around the FAA Tech Center and the Atlantic City International Airport. And I'm going to talk more about this, because we're getting ready to plan our second building in our tech park. We're using our federal opportunity zone. Here we have private sector financing. We're putting those financing packages together coming in. And also we're using a combination. We've all seen the stimulus money coming out of Washington, D.C. We were just recently awarded a $3 million grant for our second building. And now, and I'm going to talk more about this downstream, now we're working on the Build Back Better program, the Build Back Better Challenge program. And that is being built off another US EDA grant that we got from an I-6 Challenge grant. We are actually running aviation incubators and accelerators in our aviation tech park for young companies that we're looking to grow to be the next Apple, Google, or Amazon, and hopeful that they're going to get sticky and stay here in Atlantic County. But you'll hear me talk more about the aviation cluster going forward.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm going to shift over to Leonard Moore. Can you talk to us a little about Cape May County?
Leonard Desiderio.
I apologize. Yes, sorry.
No, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. Cape May County is about creating jobs and helping businesses. And we are looking more and more in helping municipalities and also helping our businesses in our county. One of the things that we just did was the county purchased a dilapidated, shuttered, old former shopping center in Rio Grande. And we changed that into Cape May Commons, Cape Commons, in which it's going to be private businesses, professional offices, along with governmental offices. And we're hoping to create over 100 jobs with this. We've also been working at our county airport, and we've made a space available at the first building at the Cape May County Airport. We're working with the DRBA, and we're moving forward with things like that. We have a new area down there that's called the Hangars, which we're very excited about. Commissioner Will Morey is spearheading this, and we're all about helping businesses and helping the communities to create jobs. Another program that we have that's in its initial stage is helping municipalities that have properties in their communities that they're maybe a little blighted or may need some help in purchasing. The county has a program in which the municipalities, along with the county, can go in, buy these properties, and then resell it to developers to spruce up the area. So we're working with these, and we're all working together with the municipalities in a common direction.
Excellent, wonderful, thank you. And Ben Laurie from in Salem County, what's happening there?
Well, first I want to thank Capital Analytics and Stephen for your hospitality. Thank you for having us. First, if you look at the background, the oldest operating courthouse in New Jersey. That being said, tourism is going to be a bigger part of Salem County. We've been a secret and we're just being discovered. We've just signed on with a new EMS, a new rail operator. Salem County is unique in that we have our own railroad. We own a short line. The operator is now providing, next year should be providing a wine train, a Christmas train, an Easter train, along with a lot of other marketing initiatives with that. We're actively right now searching for a new tourism director to push the tourism in Salem County. As we talked earlier, there was some talking about the wind port. It's 1,500 jobs when the plant is up and operating full capacity. There'll need to be vocations and talents discovered and learned, and that's where we come up with the education to partner with community college and the VOTEC to provide the right education at the right time. We've recently got a $9 million port development for our port, so the Salem port will be operating a little bit better and bring in more business, along with a lot of projects that are coming along on the project on along Route 40 corridor and a 295 corridor. You'll see the new Amazon warehouse up and operating, which is 400 jobs there. We have a airport that was just got a new operator. It's called the Spitfire Airport, which is now expanding its runway, hopefully bringing in some of the bigger clients, some King Airs, and actually going to be adding a runway sometime soon with possible warehousing with that. The most important part of this whole thing is Salem County wants to be responsible in its growth, just not growing for the sake of growing. There needs to be a balance, and part of our mission in our county, and we have a 2-cent annual tax on our tax rate for farmland assessment. And one of the areas that has a tremendous pressure is up towards Gloucester County. 90% of it's protected. So we have that balance, not only with the industry coming in, but we have the balance with the farmland assessment. And if you come to Salem County, you'll see that part of the Garden State, we're the heart of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Excited.
Time, I
A lot of
appreciate it.
Gerald Velazquez. How about Cumberland County?
One more time, Cumberland County.
Sure. Well, I want to add more activity for Cumberland County, but also to that, I want to add, we're seeing a lot of federal and state legislation. We know Congress in DC is contemplating significant tax proposals, spending bills, things that the president has referred to as once in a lifetime kind of legislation. We're also seeing a lot of activity on the state level. Wondering how you think some of this legislation that has already been passed, or some of it that's being proposed, will impact making your community stronger.
Well, look, at the end of the day, we have significant infrastructure issues here in South Jersey, and that's part of the reason why, we're starting to catch up now, and have been kind of the next area for development. And so for us, infrastructure, utilities, broadband, roadways, we talked a little bit about before the potential for bringing the rail in, down through Gloucester County, which would obviously impact Cumberland County. So as we think about utilities and infrastructure and the opportunity that's available for us in Cumberland County, and quite frankly, the entire South Jersey region, infrastructure becomes substantial for us. And for us, we have the ability to make tremendous impacts with not a lot of money, right? So infrastructure for us, $5-10 million for broadband could essentially connect the entire county and start to then connect with the other counties around us. So roadways, 55, the rail, utilities, broadband, and then again, the opportunity that exists. Lauren was talking about aviation and upskilling folks and creating opportunities. We also are talking about a significant investment in our workforce and upskilling, and trying to make sure that we have folks that are going to be able to take advantage of our 10-year, we call it the 2020, 2030 plan, the healthcare industry, advanced manufacturing, logistics, all the things that are happening here in the southern part of the state, and making sure that our residents and folks throughout the region are able to take advantage of the new positions that are going to be created throughout Cumberland County, but also, as I said before, the region. So Lauren's working on aviation. We have an airport here in Millville. Certainly, we'd like to take advantage of the synergy that exists for us to play a role in that. And certainly everything we do here in Cumberland will be something that each of the other communities and the counties can take advantage of from a regional perspective. So it's a big deal for us for all the reasons you mentioned. But most importantly, we can take a little bit of money and make it go a long way, which is different than Philly, New York, where it's a lot of money dropped in the bucket and folks don't exactly see it and don't see the impact. Just the opposite here in our part of the state.
Gerald, on the state level, obviously this past year, the legislation related to cannabis was significant. And anything on that aspect from Cumberland County?
Yeah, so obviously we're a farming community, so we have probably 6 or 7 different cannabis entities that are here looking at the county, expanding in the county. We are working with one in particular. We're selling a property that we own to a cannabis company. So cannabis is certainly going to be a big economic driver in our county, and I think throughout the southern region. So certainly it will play a big role in trying to figure out what you can and can't do from a public perspective, involvement, a lot of public-private partnerships, and obviously with the cannabis business, it's legal on the state level, not legal at the federal level. So money you have to be careful with how you're funding it, what types of programs, the public partnerships that you're creating, but 100% cannabis is here. It's making a big impact on our economy in the southern part of the state. We have the land and we have the workforce that can essentially match up well with that industry. So I'm sure other folks on the line and the other 3 communities that are here with me can essentially report the same with regard to cannabis.
Gotcha. No, very, very good. Thank you. Ben,
Jerry,
I'm gonna please, Laura.
Jerry, we're gonna make drone deliveries with cannabis, for everybody from
Make sure the FAA doesn't hear about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the synergies there within our new areas of innovation. So I guess, Lauren, we'll stick with you then. In terms of federal state legislation, we talked about on the state side, cannabis, and on the federal, everything that's going on. But has there been any other legislation in particular that's helped impact Atlantic County, or that you guys are looking forward to for expansion or diversification?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you doubled back on that, Steve, because, as I listen to my colleagues, Leonard and Jerry and Ben talk about this, the four counties are a part of the South Jersey Economic Development District. It's the only federally recognized economic development district in the state, right? Lou Joyce is the executive director there. Had a long conversation with Lou last night. We're working to put together a very comprehensive Build Back Better Challenge Grant application. We are one of four entities, Atlantic County Economic Alliance, that's getting support from the governor's office and from NJEDA on our application. The other applications that they're supporting with this federal program is Rutgers. Rutgers is doing one on life sciences. Rowan's doing one on clean tech, which is offshore on this. And NJIT is partnering with Newark on a smart ports project. We're putting together, our application focused around the aviation sector. I want to talk a little bit about why and the crossover between the counties, because Jerry talked a little bit about Millville. Leonard talked about Will Morey, who, I talk to on a regular basis. Cape May is a big partner of ours on the aviation side, for that matter, because of the Woodbine Airport, and working with the mayor there, as well as Cape May County Airport. And what's important about this is that this is helping us diversify our economy. And this is very important for the South Jersey region because of the reliance on tourism and hospitality and travel. It's over 60% of our economy. When COVID hit, we got absolutely clobbered. The Cape May Atlantic County region was the third hardest hit in the country. We need to do something to diversify our economy and build infrastructure to insulate ourselves from these disasters. And the thing that we're focusing on, tourism and travel, very important, right? But we need to diversify. And the crossover with aviation and offshore wind is kind of interesting because we have an opportunity here and we're working with companies and they are a tenant at Woodbine. It's American Aerospace, Technologies Inc. and David Yoel and his crew. They do a lot of drone testing and unmanned air system testing. We're actually working with them with Orsted. I heard Orsted mentioned earlier. Orsted's a board member of mine, sits on my board for that matter, headquartered in Atlantic City, Atlantic County, about how to use unmanned aerial systems, drones, to deliver materials and goods to the offshore wind and the construction, and how to put together a drone port and physically build a drone port at Atlantic City Airport. That's one of 6 projects that we're proposing under the first phase of the Build Back Better program you'll hear. I heard Jerry talk about workforce development. We're proposing to build an aviation maintenance and repair training academy to not only do repair on drones and unmanned air systems, but to train drone pilots and to train pilots on traditional aircraft platforms, here. And this is a regional facility to help educate and get a trained workforce in the region to build out the aviation cluster across South Jersey. The one more thing I want to add here is that I'm a firm believer in a regional economy. We're working closely with the Joint Base on all of our aviation proposals. And in fact, I'm going to be signing an MOU with the Air Force so that we can do augmented reality and artificial intelligence training at the Academy. The Air Force is very, very interested in this, and we're working very closely with the Joint Base, on these applications. We want to draw in the Millville Airport. Had a brief conversation with Kim Wood, about this to be able to draw them into the conversation. And we kind of have our own aviation research triangle as we're building out this aviation infrastructure, here between a Joint Base, Cape May, and Atlantic City International Airport. And for everybody that's listening here, what's interesting about this Build Back Better program? It's a two-part grant program. So the first phase is up to 500 grand for up to 8 projects across the region. And we're working across all 4 counties right now, across the region. And if you win this, you put together your plans for your 8 projects, and then it allows you to compete for up to $100 million of build money. So you use the first phase to get your projects implementation ready, right? As I was growing up through the system, we always called it shovel ready. Well, implementation ready is the new lingo. You get it implementation ready, and then you can apply for build money to actually build. So it's not plans that sit on a shelf. This is real money under this program, and we're very excited because we've built a strong coalition. We have partners from Princeton University, Rowan, Stockton, all the academic partners. We've been bringing them all on board for this application to build out this immense infrastructure that we're proposing. It has crossover between offshore wind and the agricultural. I mean, we use drones to do ag inspections, use drones to do, because we get hit by hurricanes, to be the first in to look at the damage using drones, an emergency management exercise. In fact, and Leonard's aware of this, we did that emergency management exercise at Woodbine Airport with FEMA and the state police. So the crossover between the counties is awesome, and we're all working together to diversify our economy and create quality jobs for our residents.
Excellent. No, a lot of excitement, and it's just amazing what the drone technology can bring to the space and across the whole area. Leonard, I'm going to shift over to you in terms of legislation that's made a major impact or things that are in the pipeline that you're looking forward to for your county. You need to turn your mute off, Leonard, please.
Our friend Lauren just said it all, and I couldn't have said it any better than what he just said. And Lauren, thank you very, very much. But, we all understand that a stronger regional economy makes for a better local economy. And what Lauren said is that we're all working together, and we need to continue to work together and in every aspect. Cape May County, as small a county as it is, does not receive too much federal or state funding. But we make do what we have to do, and we work with our partners. And we have many partners out there, such as the other counties that are on with us and working with the Cumberland County Improvement Authority, Atlantic County Improvement Authority. We move forward on projects in Cape May County that benefit us and benefit the region. And we here in Cape May County, once again, have been strong proponents and supporters of a regional economy to help our local economy.
Ben, for Salem County, any legislative activities that you wanted to point out?
Not so much legislative, but I just want to bring out a fact that with a shortage of people to employ, one of the things we've done in Salem County, and Jerry, I'm glad you're on the line with us, we've partnered with Cumberland County Improvement Authority to manage a lot of our projects, such as the courthouse. We're rebuilding an addition on the courthouse. They've been great to work with. We're partnering with the education, with Salem Community College, and also the VOTEC, working with them on all these educational opportunities with the Windport coming up and all the different warehouses coming up. Even Mid-Atlantic does a lot of work with forklift operators. But it's all about partnering and allowing Salem County government to be part of it. One of the things we're working on right now is with the recovery money that all the municipalities got and the county got. We're making an offer to all our 15 municipalities that if they put the money, whatever they put toward broadband for education, we're going to partner with them to match the amount that they're going to put in. That's where we're at, is just making sure that everybody gets a chance, everybody has a partner, and that's how we're going to leverage our employees and we're going to leverage our population. So thank you.
Thank you. Now, question for Gerald real quick before I pose a question from the audience that was posted. Gerald, we understand that the authority is helping develop over 650 million worth of projects in the region and using developer aimed incentives to encourage smart and sustainable growth. How else is the county creating more enticing opportunities in an environment that's welcoming for businesses?
So for us, as I said before, we actually act as a developer. So we are going out, identifying properties, obtaining approvals, and putting in infrastructure in some cases, and then turning that over to developers. So for us, we want to drive the process, time and money, right? So we want to let developers and potential businesses know that they can come to Cumberland County. We eliminate the time and money, or the time that obviously factors into their money decision. And so for us, again, we want to drive the process. We have a one-stop. So you come to Cumberland County, you come to the authority. We handle all of the interaction with the local government, with the county government, and the state government, and it's necessary, the federal government. So as I mentioned before, we become the site selector. We become the quasi pre-development entity for any business that wants to come to the county. So again, it's needed just because folks are saying, hey, that's really far down there. At the end of the day, you take a look at the infrastructure, the roadways, the rail, the airports that are available, and it really isn't that far away. The other thing we're focusing on is data center, right? Where we are in a situation where we are close enough to the metropolitan areas, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, DC, that folks can drive here. Natural disaster or any other type of disaster doesn't impact us if it's in the city. So trying to take advantage of the social distancing and the opportunities that arise from being close, but not being that close to those metropolitan areas.
Excellent. So to respond to a question from the audience, we're down to about 5 minutes. In terms of a closing remark and a response to the question, which is, in what ways do you feel your county is better positioned to handle another potential economic crisis or slowdown? So obviously COVID threw a twist to all of us that nobody anticipated or could ever be perfectly prepared for. We've heard responses about diversifying economies, using technology. So in a short response from everybody and a closing remark, if you could touch upon that point. So Lauren, you're on the top of my screen, so we'll start with you.
Sure. Oh, thank you, Stephen. So, the quick answer to that is, I think we've all learned how to disseminate information quickly to the business community. Here at the Atlantic County Economic Alliance, we did the hub and spoke method. We now have that system and process in place that if we have a pandemic or another, natural disaster, we have our network in place now, working with our chambers and our business associations to be able to have information fed to us from NJEDA and the federal government, being able to make it clear and concise and disseminate it out through our network into the business community of how they can access resources, help, and assistance to help them recover. I think that's the one thing, that we've really learned how to do a little more efficiently. Because remember, when this first hit, everybody was getting information, getting broadsided from all different directions, and you couldn't keep up with all the emails. Here now we've learned to make it a much more efficient and precise process, so that the businesses knew how to access the forms, technical assistance to fill out forms to help them recover faster, while we're all still doing a regular job to help diversify our economy, and build infrastructure and create quality jobs for our residents.
Absolutely. Thank you. Leonard?
Well, when this pandemic first started, no one knew any of the answers, and every day was something different we were learning. In Cape County, Freeholder Maury and I co-chaired a COVID-19 recovery force in which we had business leaders, mayors, health workers, etc., on this task force. And we devised a program in which we felt we could get Cape County open in a safe manner together. We worked numerous hours on this. We have this task force still in effect, and we're able to get out information much easier. When this pandemic started, especially restaurants, many of them never had to do takeout, didn't know how to do takeout, couldn't do takeout. They learned very quickly, and the county, and along with the municipalities, helped these businesses start their new ways of operation. And many of these businesses, I'm told, are going to continue doing takeout now forever. So we continue to keep our business community updated. Tourism, as we know here in Cape May County, is our #1 industry, is our economic engine. Our tourism director, Diane Whelan, along with our Cape May County Chamber of Commerce, keep everyone informed of what's going on. And we all work together. We work together and going in the same direction to continue to be a success. And we believe Cape May County has benefited, especially this summer. We're not at our numbers that we were, say, in 2019, but we recovered much sooner than we expected. And we had, unbelievable crowds this summer in Cape May County. And our property values in every community have risen, and we're hoping for much better in the future as we work together. And that's all we can do, is work together and keep everybody on the same page and keep everybody informed on what's going on. And that's what we're doing in Cape May County. And thank you very much for this opportunity today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leonard. Ben and Gerald, I'd like to hear from you, but I'm getting, we're down to a couple minutes.
Ice cream. We sell ice cream down here in Cumberland and Salem.
Ben?
I just want to say, and to keep it real quick, we've discovered and found our heroes. And Leonard and Lauren put it very well. These people take care of us. We've developed and found those networks. We've developed and found systems that work just for the distribution of vaccine. All this is experience that we can use in the future for not only if there's another disease that comes around, God forbid, but any kind of type of disaster like Cumberland, like Gloucester just had with the hurricanes. How do you react? Who do you go to? We found those, and when they're in place, and hopefully we never have to use them. But if we do, we know where they're at and how to use them. So thank you once again for Capital Analytics for this time, and Stephen for your time hosting this.
Absolutely. Thank you all, gentlemen. Thank you, Invest South Jersey. It's very exciting. The future sounds and looks very bright. Thank you all again for including us.
If everyone can just hold for a second, we're just taking a quick picture. Smile. Perfect.
Well, thank you, everyone. What a wonderful conversation, and what a first perfect panel to open the discussion. So I appreciate once again Steve, Jerry, Ben, Lauren, and Leonard for being with us today, and for such a comprehensive discussion on how South Jersey's counties are at the forefront of the regional economy. Just a quick reminder, all registered attendees will receive complimentary access to read our Invest South Jersey 2021 report digitally. An email will be sent early next week. However, we're also currently live streaming the event on our YouTube page. As you probably many of you know, the event will be live there as well for anyone that would like to revisit or share these great discussions around. Now it's time to introduce our second panel called Opportunity on the Horizon, exploring the future of real estate in South Jersey. Moderating the panel is Lou Lombardi, Senior Vice President of Fulton Bank. Lou, please turn on your audio and camera. It's nice to see you. I'll hand it to you to introduce the panelists.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. Thank you, Juan. Again, my name is Lou Lombardi, Regional Commercial Executive with Fulton Bank. And obviously, real estate is a big piece of the health of the South Jersey economy. We put together a great panel of real estate professionals to discuss real estate in South Jersey. Our panelists are Joe Maressa, President, CEO of Title America, Chris Wilhelm, Regional Vice President, Gateway Mortgage, and Itai Ron, Investment Director of Faro Point. Welcome, panelists. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank
Good to be on.
Great. So before we talk about the state of real estate today and where it's headed, let's just take a quick look back to the last 18 months, and I'll throw out a two-part question to the entire panel. Part one, how did your business handle the pandemic? And part two, did the pandemic help you develop any new best practices that have proven to be beneficial to your operations as you look ahead? So I'll throw that out to the group.
I'll grab that first. I would say our technology position was like having a full-size spare in our trunk versus a donut. We were able to engage with our customers through online apps that allowed them to not only make application, they could run their own credit, upload their documentation all through their phone. That would be the number one
thing in our space. Consumers and loan officers were forced to use apps a year ago that we're not used to or even comfortable using. Suffice to say, it accelerated the adoption rate of use of apps from that year ago. Worth noting, the mortgage industry closed 4 trillion last year, breaking 2003's record. So I would say that was the one thing that really helped us and really developed into a best practice.
That's great, Chris. Yeah, certainly the pandemic forced people to use technology they weren't comfortable with, and now they love it. So obviously it's been a boon to your industry. Joe or Itai?
Yeah, I mean,
We'll go with
go ahead.
Joe, then we'll go Itai next.
Well, first, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I know many of the other speakers. And a shout out to my mayor, Lenny Desiderio from Sea Isle City, who's really turned a sleepy little community into a real destination center. So as Chris Wilhelm says, pre-COVID, everything was done, basically the old-fashioned way. Now with COVID, everything is digital, right? Because the less contact with people, the better. But in my business, you have to have contact with the buyer and the seller. We don't have remote online notarization. So what we try to do, as Chris said, is we get as many of the documents explained and signed via DocuSign. I hope everybody bought DocuSign stock, a year ago. But unfortunately, New Jersey still requires wet signatures on some documents, mortgages, notes, etc. And most of the documents that are going to be recorded, deeds, what have you. So, limiting the contact we did, but getting rid of the contact with the human contact altogether was impossible. So what happened to the title industry? We take direction from our underwriters. We have the pleasure of being underwritten by First American, by Stewart Title, and Old Republic. Because they backstop us with claims and so forth, they issue guidance, and we have to follow their guidance. So the guidance was during the height of COVID, don't let anyone in your office. So, I came to work every day during the pandemic, and it was very strange. We locked our front door. So people, we scheduled, your closing would be scheduled. You'd call when you arrived in the parking lot. A representative from our company who had previously been in contact with the buyer and the seller, for weeks prior, handled all the questions on the mortgage package and our title commitments as best they could to get full answers out of the way. They call us, hey, I'm in the parking lot. We say, what's the address? What's the name? And then one of our closing officers would go out with a skinny down package with a mask on, in cold weather, what have you, and get the remaining documents that needed live signatures signed. They take everything, and now the people still sit in the car. We come back into the office, everything's sanitized, and we give a skinny down version of a mortgage package back to the consumer, the buyer, and everything else is emailed, and we send them on their way. Whoever needed to be paid, that's mostly all done by wire transfer anyhow, so that wasn't really an issue. But as Chris Wilhelm will tell you, we are the gatekeeper of his mortgage packages, not only his, but every other bank and mortgage company. So we handle a lot of paper, and a lot of paper goes back in between the buyer, the seller, and the title company. So our girls actually would sanitize the mail that came in. They would sanitize all the documents that need to be signed, and we would make up a little package, as I said, and then the people would go on their way. So not only did we want to protect our people, right, because we're on the front line, so to speak, of the closing, but we also had to make sure we weren't transmitting any COVID germs to our customers. So that it was a challenge, and it was something that this will, next year will be my 40th year in the business. It's something that I thought I would never see. If somebody told me 5 years ago you were going to do closings in your parking lot, lock your front door, and not allow any customers in, I'd say you were crazy. But I'm sure Chris and Itai maybe have the same stories, but it was just a total turning of the industry upside down. Now, with vaccinations, we let people in, but we still practice social distancing. You have to be masked. We take your temperature. We sanitize the room after every closing. And there's a lot more interaction with buyers and sellers. We still, when practical, we still limit the amount of people that we let in. Normally under non-COVID circumstances, these closings were like almost like a little bit of a party, right? Somebody's young couple's buying their home, the grandmother comes in, their children are there. Most people have attorneys, there's realtors, there's mortgage company representatives. Now it's like buyer, seller, and if the lawyers scream loud enough, and I can say that because I'm a lawyer, then we let the lawyers in, but we keep, the mortgage people out, we keep the realtors out when we can. And we
So no more champagne. No more champagne at settlement.
No more champagne, no more, war stories. It's like, okay, sign here and we take the money, we pay the bills, and, we'd like to make it as pleasant as possible, but we try to limit as much of the contact and the time. So it's totally different today.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Obviously, very interesting 18 months. Glad to see that you and your cohorts made it through. Itai, was there anything that you wanted to add to that before we look ahead?
Yeah, just echoing what Chris and Joe said, from a corporate perspective, obviously we digitized many of our processes and moved into a kind of a work from home at first, and now it's more of a hybrid. I think a lot of businesses are seeing kind of the same trends. From an operational standpoint, since we own and operate mostly industrial real estate, many of our tenants were doing well, but we tried very early on, I'm talking March 2020, we tried to identify the businesses that are going to get shut down and compromised by the restrictions. And there was the PPP loans back then. So we really handheld some of our smaller tenants, helped them go to the bank, receive aid, make sure that they were doing okay. And that was kind of, I think, the majority of the impact to us.
Great. Thank you, Itai. Well, we talked a little bit about the past and the pandemic. I know we're all interested to put that behind us. Let's talk about the current environment. And we'll zero in on residential real estate first. So when you look at real estate prices in the residential world today, they're currently surpassing the height of the mid-2000s housing bubble. If you could explain why this is or why this is not indicative of a bubble, and what's different about the price increases we saw in the 2006, 2008 kind of time frame as opposed to today's prices.
I'll hop in on that, Louis, if that's okay.
Sure.
I have the good fortune of handling some very large builders, Ryan Homes, D.R. Horton, and some of the smaller regional builders as well. It's simple, in my eyes. It's supply and demand, right? That controls the pricing of things. So today, and I got some statistics this morning. I just talked briefly about the price of goods or materials that go into building a house. So 2x4 studs are up 68% from last year. 3/4 inch plywood is up 252%. So plywood is, everybody knows, is used for sheeting, right? A sheet last year this time was $38. Today it's about $90 to $95. OSB board up 500%. Sheetrock is up 250% from a year ago. Concrete up 20%. Romex wiring, that's what the electricians use. That's up 267%. Insulation 81%. Copper pipe 38%. Shingles 20%. Sheet goods, rugs up 15 to 20%. Cabinets 25%. Appliances, if you can get them, up 20 to 25%. Asphalt up 30 to 35%. And that really, if you can get this stuff, it's hard to get these materials even with these price increases. So that's one thing that's raising prices. The other one is supply. There's not a lot of homes out there, right? If you talk, I'm specifically in new construction, but in the resale market, and I think Chris Wilhelm can attest to this, there's no inventory, right? So there's no houses. So basically, people are out there pretty much naming their prices. The new construction people, they can't even build them fast enough, right? And why can't they build them fast enough? Because they can't get subcontractors.
Right.
Why can't you get subcontractors? Because no one wants to work, in plain English, right? The government had all these, very attractive unemployment benefits. There was, for a while there, people were getting the regular unemployment benefits plus $600. Well,
right. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, it sounds like there's a few drivers there. You mentioned Chris's name, so I wanted to give Chris a chance to respond to that question. Chris, yeah, what was that?
No, I was ready to go, but I was waiting for you to finish. I don't want to cut you off.
He's my older cousin, by the way.
Floor is yours, Chris.
Got it. So, just on a personal note, I own a couple of investment properties. Not that that's important, but one of our tenants, the refrigerator broke. So to that note, I had to order a refrigerator. 3 weeks, I have to wait for a refrigerator. So that's real right there. Inside the mortgage space, if you go back to the 2008 era, as you know, for those who might not remember, there was this pocket or this group of loans that didn't require any documentation. And that really spurred the whole bubble. So if you think about back then, close to 7.5% of people's income was going towards their mortgage payment. Today, it's probably less than 3%. The mortgage process, especially with some of the pandemic guidelines they've rolled out, I won't bore you to tears with that, have certainly impacted people's ability to get mortgage, especially if you're self-employed. As Joseph mentioned, I think over the last 10 years, new construction has not kept up. So that's where part of this void is. And we have a lot of qualified buyers that is driving what we refer to as lack of inventory because there isn't enough homes. I think once is that there's more people qualified to purchase homes than there actually are homes available. So there's a real void or real need for new construction, as Joseph had mentioned. And there's another sector of the market as well from an investment standpoint. I think I read the question. I hope I read it right. Property values, again, are up 10 to 15%, but the investor appetite, along with second homes, has really increased. And with the increase in value, increase in rents. So we're seeing a lot of drivers just in that space, the investor and second homes, we're up almost 15% in applications from that standpoint. So we'll talk a little bit further about affordable housing and some of the things there, but just looking at the amount of investment properties that have been purchased over the second quarter, I think nationwide, 1 in 6 homes that were purchased to the tune of $48.5 billion were investment properties. That's up from the fourth quarter 2020 of $20.9 billion as per Redfin, which was reported July 22nd, 21. So that was my addition to that space.
Now, thank you, Chris. Some staggering numbers there. It sounds like limited supply and high demand is driving all this. I think we had a feel for that, but let's turn the conversation from residential to commercial. And Itai, I know that's your area of expertise. Nationwide, the industrial sector has been performing exceptionally well during the pandemic. Obviously, we've had a big demand on e-commerce, and that's been a driver for warehouse space. How do you see the local industrial market in South Jersey continuing to evolve during the current cycle?
Sure. Thanks, Lou. There's no doubt that COVID accelerated and kind of put on steroids existing trends in the economy and kind of underlying currents. To put things in perspective, the US jumped from about 11% penetration of e-commerce to about 14%, but there's still a lot of runway. If you look at other countries like China, like the UK, they're hovering around 25% as a percent of retail sales. So there's a lot of runway still ahead of us. Now, Joe and Chris both talked about the cost of new construction and the lack of inventory. Same applies to industrial. Cost of new construction keeps going up. There's limited supply, and that's causing rents to go vertical. Users are competing on space, especially now with some of the regulations that kind of are getting unwinded here in the US. People have a bit more clarity for the future and are trying to stabilize their businesses and sign new leases. And that's kind of where we see things going. That's kind of on the one side. On the other side, you have to factor in the supply chain constraints that are causing people to onshore and nearshore and hold more inventory on hand, which is causing a larger demand for industrial real estate. And overall, the growth of the economy, I mean, money is still cheap. I mean, the Fed spoke a couple of days ago. The economy keeps kind of roaring on, and you can't discount the effect that light manufacturing also has on this space. Money is cheap, there's growth, people are looking for more space, and there's none to be found. So we definitely see this trend continuing well into 2022 and potentially even 2023.
Great. Thanks, Itai. Yeah, clearly a lot of demand there and similar challenges and constraints related to residential versus commercial. Wanted to turn the question around to the legislative and regulatory side. And Chris, I think your industry is definitely, that would pique your interest, I believe. In your business, you know, the real estate industry in general, potential changes from legislative and regulatory groups, they have to be closely monitored since it could have long-term impacts on your business and the market. So with that said, what potential legislative changes at the local, state, or federal level are worth noting as we look ahead to the long-term future of real estate in South Jersey?
Well, Louis, that's a loaded question. I guess on the regulatory side of the mortgage business, it's always changing, and rightfully so, to protect consumers. You know, we certainly learned our lesson on not enough oversight from 2008, which I think we already noted here. On the legislative side, what we're seeing at all three levels, local, state, and federal, is there's a push for affordable housing, and especially what's happening with these home prices rising and rent rising, and they're moving further and further away from each other. So I think those two moving at a fast pace, you know, are going to challenge, you know, towns. And Joseph can attest to, you know, each town already has to designate affordable housing, but I think there's going to be more of a push from the administration, as in the Biden administration, to create that. So that's what we're seeing from that standpoint. And that's not just for owner occupied. Obviously, there's talk about generational wealth through owning real estate. For minorities, there's a push from the NBA as well too. But I think you're going to see more of a push even for more affordable rental properties from that standpoint. You know, state of New Jersey offers a great first-time home buyers product through the NJHMFA. First-time home buyers, you know, can get a $10,000 grant, and as long as they make less than $110,000, they're eligible. So there's definitely products out there for them. But to answer your question directly, that's where I see the big push in the affordable housing space.
Great. Thanks, Chris, for that perspective. Let's stay on that theme of looking ahead. We'll talk about maybe residential real estate first. When you look at future generations entering the home buyer market today, how real estate is bought, how it's sold, what do you think the future of the residential real estate, the buying and the selling, looks like?
Is that for me?
That could be for you, Joe. Sure. Or Chris. I don't think Itai is really on the residential side. So yeah, Joe or Chris.
If I was a residential realtor, I would be worried, because I think going into the real estate office and selecting a broker or a salesperson is really going to be a thing of the past. You know, Chris knows more of the internet programs than I, but you know, Zillow and there's several types of Zillow and their competitors. People are shopping online. I mean, that's the long and the short of it in a nutshell. It's like banking, I guess. We'll hear from Rob Curley later, but A lot of banking now is online. Me, I like to go in and shake a hand and know who I'm dealing with. But, you know, my children and Chris's children, it's online. And they think they get better service online. But I guess it's a thing, it's a generational thing. So again, if I was a residential realtor, I'd be worried about these internet capabilities.
And to add what Joseph said, we already talked about this, opening up, is that the pandemic taught us one thing, we can operate our businesses through technology. And that's evidence, and much to like current realtors, I mean, they have to really, what's their value proposition when you have, a generational gap here where, young consumers are used to buying everything through Amazon and, having it delivered in 24 hours. It's just crazy. So, to touch on what Joseph said, when you think about Zillow and Redfin, some of these huge real estate conglomerates that are actually just, they have a great for sale by owner platform that allows homeowners or to be able to sell their home just by uploading pictures, uploading videos without a realtor. So that space for realtors is really going to be tough going forward from that standpoint. And Zillow spent, I forget what the number was, but it was a couple $1 million to buy an online scheduling service. So in that same Zillow platform, for sale by owner, a homeowner or prospective homeowner can go on Zillow and actually schedule an appointment directly with the homeowner without an agent. And I think the other part, if you go back 20 years ago, or if you can go back 30 years ago, you think about the real estate book used to come out, horrible pictures, grainy, then they kind of upgraded it, the pictures are a little bit better. I just think the future, you're going to see house virtual tours. And I think that exists already, but it's going to be greatly enhanced from that standpoint. So without getting off your sofa, that's going to be the big thing. So that's where I see the future going, is that home buying will be there, and real estate's real estate. I mean, all of us, like Joseph said, we've all been around for a long time. There's ups, there's downs and stuff like that, but it continues to be there. And again, go back to not only the affordable housing, but the big push for home ownership with the current administration. I'm excited about the future.
Great. Thank you both.
And Louis, can I just jump in for 1 second? That goes for my business and Chris's business as well. I mean, you have the lending trees of the world. Fortunately for the title insurance industry, it's not 100% online yet. By sometime in the future, you go, you buy your house on Zillow, they'll put you into a lending tree program, and then you'll be able to get your title insurance right online. So unfortunately, I'm at the end, I'm getting to the end of my career. So, but the young kids coming up in the mortgage business and the title business, I feel sorry for them.
Thanks, Joe. Itai, I think you wanted to get one in there. Go ahead.
Yeah. I feel like the question was about residential, but the answer isn't that different for commercial. I mean, what Joe and Chris are saying, we're seeing it a lot. I mean, on the one side, we're seeing kind of, I don't think you can discount the value of a handshake and a personal relationship when you're sourcing deals, when brokers are sourcing deals, but you do have new out-of-town brokers that are able to kind of scrape the web and piece together pieces of information to try and generate a picture and contact owners that way and try to source deals from kind of under the nose of the local big guys that have done it for many, many years. So that's one thing that's definitely changing. And I think one thing we can't discount is the use of data. I mean, we use big data. We own dozens of properties in southern Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. We use that information daily to drive our decision making, and that's the only way in which we can stay ahead of the curve. I mean, if you want to understand leasing sentiment in different parts of the city, in different pockets, in different industrial parks, that is the only way in which you can do it. And in a market that's moving as fast as today, because of lack of supply, because of 1,000 different reasons we said today, having the right data and having it accessible and actionable is priceless.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it sounds like similar challenges, similar opportunities across all segments in real estate. We're running out of time, but I'm going to try to jam one audience question in here. The question is this: institutional ownership took over the apartment industry over the last few decades. Are we going to see this happen across single family properties as well? Anyone want to jump into that? Just about anybody might be able to take a stab at it.
I mean, I would say, given what we've been through in the last 18 months, anything is possible. I don't particularly see it in the short term, but you can't rule anything out today.
Mhm.
And I would echo the same thing, but I think, we're purchasing apartment buildings and purchasing single family homes are, light years away from each other, but you might see that more in the, 4 family, 2 to 4 family space where there's institutional lending. And going back to affordable housing, one of the things they're proposing is funding some of these nonprofit organizations, which would actually be able to buy those properties. So, but I think they're 2 different spaces, in my opinion. I just think that people are buying apartment buildings, they want to be in that space, and people buying single families or 1 to 2 family or 2 to 4 families are totally different.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think it goes back to data. If you have the algorithm, or if you have the know-how to identify opportunities in single family and act on them quickly and have conviction in what you're doing, that's kind of one piece. And the other piece is being able to streamline the operations, because I think the biggest barrier to entry in terms of institutional ownership is the relatively small deal sizes. And most of the bigger players just don't want to play in that arena. But if you can, quote unquote, automate your screening process, and you can just rapid fire identify opportunities and then streamline operations, then it definitely lowers the barriers to entry when it comes to single family homes as well.
Great. I think we're going to have to leave it there. But panelists, I wanted to thank you very much for sharing all your insights on real estate in South Jersey, certainly being impacted by technology, data, all the above, but a bright future ahead nonetheless. So thank you very much. And I'll kick it back to Capital Analytics.
If everyone can just hold for 1 second, we're just going to take a quick picture. If everyone can smile. Perfect.
And that's a wrap for another brilliant panel, especially Lou and the rest of the panelists, of course. We really appreciate your energy, your passion. I think it's one of the best panels that we heard in the last couple of months. In any case, thank you, Lou, Joseph, Chris, and Itai for participating today and sharing this exceptional insights on the local real estate sector. In addition to revisiting the event on our YouTube page, you can also check out our latest Invest Insights Season 4 videos, which are open for everyone. Some of the boldest leaders and most bullish executives of the US are sharing their perspectives on the country's new economy post-pandemic. Andrew Saporito, Executive Director and CEO of the South Jersey Port Corporation, was released on Monday this week, and Jose Lozano, President and CEO of Choose New Jersey, our keynote speaker, will be released later this month. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce our third panel for today's event, Financial Future. What does the new landscape mean for South Jersey's financial institutions? The panel presenter of this last panel is Vincent D'Alessandro, First Senior Vice President of Ocean First Bank. Vincent, if you could turn on your video and unmute yourself, and please go ahead and introduce the panel's moderators and panelists.
Thank you so much. I am absolutely thrilled to be part of this Invest South Jersey launch conference. It's supported by our good friends at Capital Analytics that do so much for us. I'm so excited to hear from my financial services peers, Denise Monahan, Albert Fox, Rob Curley, and Brian Jones, in discussing the new landscape for South Jersey's financial institutions. These are truly impressive and connected individuals in the financial services business in South Jersey. As we all know, the world is changing so rapidly, as we heard from a lot of the panelists today, and we're experiencing the implications from the pandemic, the polarizing political landscape that we're all dealing with, mask and vaccine issues, which has led to a lot of debates, a much more digitally focused world, the influence of social media, labor shortages and the unemployment benefits that seem to go on forever and ever, the supply chain issues about getting goods and services around, the need for promoting remote work schedules for a lot of us companies, the international turmoil that exists around the world, the continued low interest rate environment, margin compression of the financial institutions, the increase in price and the limited affordability for a lot of folks for the real estate market, the inflationary pressures that we do see out there that some folks want to deny even exists, the customer demands on new delivery channels, and for us in the financial institution world, branch consolidations. I just want to spend a couple of seconds talking a little bit about what Ocean First Bank has done as we've tried to keep pace with all of these ever-changing financial aspects of the landscape. We've, number one, first and foremost, continued to follow regimented safety protocols to keep everybody safe. I think it was Joe that was mentioning, doing business in parking lots and hoods of cars and trunks of cars. We were doing whatever it took to keep our folks distanced and safe. And that's really, really still very important. We are working really hard to deepen our digital product mix, continue to build efficiencies in our operations. We've increased the minimum wage for our staff to help us attract more and more talented folks. We've created a universally trained certified digital banker program so that our staff in meeting with our clients can appropriately service the product mix and service our clients through the digital products that are out there, providing more and more differing channels to our clients who've had to work more in their offices with less and less labor support and more digital focus. We're adding more integrated teller machines, which is tied to our corporate center, and building a more substantial customer care center tied to that corporate center so that the connectivity to their bankers of our clients is immediate, faster, and 24/7. We're also in a very conservative work environment, adjusting our ability to provide more flexible work schedules, which is a demand of us. That's going to, continue to develop. We are developing our emerging leaders to support more of digital connectivity to our clients. We are old school folks who like to meet one-on-one, but we've had to enhance that with connecting in a human way using digital technology and focusing on our relationship-centric banking services using those digital connectivity. And just essentially providing our banking services to our customers the way they want it to keep pace with their faster paced, more modern world. And I'm so interested to hear what our talented panelists have to say today about how they are managing their businesses through this ever-changing financial landscape. And I feel a bit like the opening act for the Rolling Stones with these powerful individuals in this business. So it's my pleasure to introduce our talented panelists and our moderator for today's program. Our moderator will be Denise Monahan, who is Group Vice President for M&T Bank. And the panelists include Albert Fox, who is the Senior Vice President and Executive Director at Morgan Stanley. Rob Curley, good friend of mine, who is the South Jersey Market President for TD Bank. And Brian Jones, who's not only the president and CEO of the First National Bank of Elmer, seems like he is connected on every social media site in the world because I see him all over the place. These are truly talented and well-respected leaders in our industry, worthy of our attention when listening to what input they have on the state of our financial landscape. And thank you so much again for including me in this great event. So Denise, over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Vince. And on behalf of M&T Bank, I just want to thank Capital Analytics for facilitating a great program. And I certainly look forward to working together with our esteemed panel to continue this great conversation. So joining me here today to talk about the changing landscape and what it means for the financial services industry is Albert Fox, Senior Vice President and Executive Director of Fox, Penberthy and Dean at Morgan Stanley, Rob Curley, South Jersey Market President for TD Bank, and Brian Jones, President and CEO of the First National Bank of Elmer. So great to be with all of you, and we'll get right into the program. It's always tough to back clean up, but we're going to do a great job here and move our conversation along. So we've heard a lot about how the last 18 months has truly, been profound and how it's changed the way that we live and, quite frankly, the way that we work. What I'd like to ask panelists, starting with you, Albert, is what are some of the lessons that you've learned or the key takeaways and how you're using those to influence and benefit your organization? Albert, you're on mute. Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Thank you for that. And I appreciate being able to kick it off. I would summarize your question with a slightly different answer. And I would say we had 10 years worth of progress in financial services and in our economy. and we had 10 months to digest it. Now, I know we've had a little bit longer time than that. And I think we've figured out how to accommodate team members, staff, the organization, and clients, providing to everybody what they need during a time of challenge. May not necessarily be what they want. I'm a big believer in hand-to-hand combat and being in person. Well, that went away for a period of time. It hasn't gone away forever, but we got this wonderful tool that we're using today in Zoom, right? Another arrow in our quiver to be able to enhance relationships, add value, be accessible. And I also think, looking back at this, everyone's business needs to be stress tested. And we can talk about it in boardrooms and in laboratories, but unfortunately, none of us work in a laboratory, right? So we had a real opportunity with clients, with colleagues, to stress test our practice and really to enhance our deliverables to our audience of clients, our colleagues throughout the business community, and really to elevate everybody's experience. I think crisis makes everybody get better if you're willing to sit up and be reflective of yourself and be demanding of yourself. And I think a lot of the organizations that you've heard from today sort of echoed that. So as we're batting cleanup, I thought to myself, gee, what can I add that hasn't already been said? These people have been fabulous. But that's where I would start today's discussion.
Great. Thank you for that, Albert. And I'm sure there's always more that we can add. So Rob, I'll turn to you and ask for your reflections.
Thank you, Denise. And it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I think the biggest lesson we all had learned was you don't forget to unmute yourself. So I think we just saw an example of that. But I think in the banking industry and probably for a lot of industries, I think there's been a lot of lessons and learned and takeaways. But I think two stand out for me the most. First, virtual doesn't have to mean impersonal. Prior to COVID, I never used video conferencing as I did everything face-to-face or by phone. Today we hold all our internal meetings via video, and we offer video conferencing to all our clients and prospects for those who prefer that option over face-to-face meetings. And I have to say, it's far more effective than I ever expected. By using video, we can make presentations and share proposals while still making eye contact with our customer. And we aren't spending as much time in our cars traveling, which makes us all more productive. I think the second thing we learned is that even large companies can be nimble. At TD, we quickly transitioned a major portion of our workforce to remote work at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was done over a single weekend. We also quickly created and deployed solutions like remote loan closings and online portal for the Paycheck Protection Program in record time, because most banks drag our feet and take forever to do things. But we did that because we wanted to make sure that none of our customers were left out of that critical program. So being part of the internal rollout of both of these initiatives, I really saw firsthand how quickly our teams could collaborate across the entire bank and execute, which was really exciting and refreshing to be part of. And as a big bank, we need to remember what we accomplished over the last 18 months, and we need to continue to be more agile going forward.
Great. Thank you for that, Rob. Brian?
Brian,
there we go. There we go.
Okay.
Hey, you didn't learn my lesson.
I just want to make Rob look really good. As a small community bank, we believe, going back to what Albert said, of a kind of a touching model to be out in the public and making contact with people. And that was really a challenge for us to adapt to. So a couple of the items that really came forward was, our ability to communicate effectively, timely, and informing people of what was going on. This would be internally and with our customers. This situation presented a unique challenge for us because, we probably obviously don't have the type of sophisticated processes that Rob deals with. We have to operate a little bit differently. And, we had to be able to source items that we had no supply chains for, in a matter of days. So we had a lot of challenges there. And, we learned how to do that. We learned how to communicate effectively in this type of environment. We learned how to work remotely and be effective in this type of environment. Our IT area really responded very well. I mean, we weren't in a situation where we had a majority of our employees able to work remotely. So we had to get laptops. We had to acquire VPNs. And, right now, probably 100% of our individuals who can work remotely are able to do that. So it really elevated our ability to communicate on through different channels and put us in a much better position from an IT standpoint to be able to work remotely.
Great. So, as we reflect and look back, I think all of the points that each of you made are really key. And just to summarize, Albert, I love the fact that you say stress test. Being in the banking world, that is key to what we do, is we stress test every day, and you never let a crisis go unleveraged. And, Rob, to say that virtual doesn't have to be impersonal, I think is so key. And it's always about communication, Brian. So really appreciate those thoughts. As we heard our previous two panels, we heard a lot today that despite the pandemic, there really has been a lot about how do we just learn to live in the new normal. We've heard the word innovation, research and development, just new ways of doing business. As we look at where we are today in our current landscape, Rob, I'd love to start with you and just talk about, we know the primary risks that are out there in facing our future growth, but basically, how are you dealing with mitigating those risks and, more importantly, educating your clients on how to adapt and adjust to the situation or, risks that are inherent in our environment today?
So, when I look back at the last 18 months, I would say a lot of our customers had common challenges. Government support like the Economic Injury Disaster Loans and Paycheck Protection Program have really helped to reduce the number of business failures and kept many businesses on financial life support. These programs have really prevented massive credit losses for banks and has allowed the small business to remain open and participate in the job recovery to date. That said, the labor shortage is very real, and businesses are trying all different types of tactics to hire people. I think that's one of their biggest challenges. And it's from small sign-on bonuses to higher pay to attract more workers. This is a financial pandemic, which is really a real struggle for almost every business, large or small. Customers who borrow, and we try to talk to them about the benefits of the low interest rates, as well as access to credit. Because as lower credit losses allow banks to continue to lend and support their customers, this crisis is much different than it was back in 2008. And I think access to credit is there, which it wasn't there before. So I think it allows us to continue to support our customers, offer them solutions to help them get through the pandemic from one side of the valley to the other. And I think it just gives us a lot of opportunity to just educate them in general about the impacts that digital technology could have on their businesses to make them more efficient.
Thank you, Rob. So Brian, turning to you, from a community bank perspective, the themes are the same, but in terms of the strategies and the execution, how are you working through coaching, your clients and helping them navigate through this new normal?
Well, I think that the key to that is for us to continue to be, their financial advisors and to, work with them through these situations. Their staffing is incredibly difficult, I'm sure, for every one of us on this call, plus, all of our, all of our customers too. And whatever this new normal turns out to be, we have industries that are obviously suffering and still continue to. We have other industries that did very well through this event, and some again that are just starting to recover now. So really, the important thing is to be that advisor, to be that individual and the entity as the bank that they can come to and have us understand what the current situation is. Financial statements are going to look a lot different than they have previously, and it's up to us as an institution to understand, appreciate that, and deal with it. As a banker, I only serve one purpose, and that's to make my clients successful. And that's really always the objective, is to be there when needed and to try to supply them with the support and financing and other products and services they need.
Right. Thank you, Brian. And Albert, from a personal perspective, markets have been strong. There's been a lot of great opportunities. How are you coaching and navigating your clients to stay safe or to stay prosperous?
So Mike Tyson had a wonderful quote, and the quote is, "Everyone has a plan until they get hit." So in our world, we're constantly evaluating, reevaluating, and stress testing our clients' financial plans. Where are they relative to their goals? Where they're trying to get to? and what course corrections need to take place. And so for us, COVID was just another event on a historical perspective that had some type of market consequence. But when you have the Fed doing massive intervention that misprices the financial markets, people will tend to forget that the price you paid for an investment, and investments don't have feelings. That investment doesn't care when you bought it. It doesn't care why you bought it. And so our job really is to remind everyone of what your goals and objectives are. Keep folks focused on the goals and objectives, not get caught up in the noise, not chase after the hot dot or the most favored item, and just to remember that if you closed your eyes for 5 years, would it still be okay? And does your portfolio look like that? And most of the time when the answer is yes, you have a good plan and a good strategy. And most of the time when you have to pay attention on a daily basis, you're probably taking some risk you might not have acknowledged or might not be willing to acknowledge, but exists on a real-time basis. And to some degree, and our friends that are in banking know this is musical chairs. The music will stop. Someone will not have a chair. It's not going to necessarily be our clients because we're very active with FaceTime, Zoom, whatever it might be, to sit on the same side of the table and solve problems and make sure they stay on course. But that's not the public at large. The public at large thinks that this party will go on forever, and that's a virtual impossibility. Extremes go further than people think.
Thank you for that, Albert. When I think about the party, I've been at this party in banking for more than 35 years now. And not to give away my age, but when I started in banking, there was over 24,000 banks. And today there's less than a third of that. Rob, I'd just like to turn to you that the pandemic has clearly, caused a lot of banks to reevaluate the need for bricks and mortar and, evaluating the cost of physical locations, but how do you be high tech, but still remain high touch? Can you just comment on where you believe the future of branches are and the need to have the bricks and mortars to, best provide for clients, not only on a corporate basis, but also on a consumer basis?
Yeah, thanks, Denise. So I think whenever banks announce closures, it gets a lot of negative media attention, and it actually gives the perception to customers that maybe the bank is in trouble. But really what we're doing is we're managing our business to a changing atmosphere, a changing industry. So at TD Bank, we really don't expect physical banking locations will completely disappear, but definitely mobile and digital has impacted in-store transaction volumes, both prior to the pandemic. It's been going on for years, but it really accelerated during the pandemic where more and more people adopted digital channels. Most millennials have never visited a physical bank location, and the pandemic forced the older generations who were generally uncomfortable with mobile banking to adopt and embrace these technologies. And again, it's just accelerated the digital banking channel over the past 18 months. Sorry about that. Someone's at my front door. If you heard that. But at TD Bank, stores will remain a key part of our engagement model. And that's very much in line with what we're seeing in terms of demand from our customers. They want to be able to go in and see a person when they need to. But having said that, we expect that the branch networks will continue to evolve and may look different in the future, either in terms of the number of locations or the physical size of the future branch. And really the types of interactions and conversations that take place in our stores will continue to evolve. It used to be transaction driven, but now we expect our customers, and we're seeing our customers, leverage the physical locations for more advice driven conversations versus just making a transaction, which they can do on their phone or tablet.
Got it. Thank you, Rob. And, speaking of technology and the investment that's needed because people are doing things more, remotely, Brian, I turn to you as, a community banker. We're in a low interest rate environment, but clearly the need to continue to invest in technology and generate the right level of both credit and non-credit income are major, focus points for all banks. Can you just talk a little bit about, from a community bank model, how you're managing, creating that balance between credit and non-credit income?
Well, it's very challenging for an institution of our size to generate, percentage-wise, the type of fee income larger institutions have the economy of scale to do. So in essence, from our standpoint, what we need to do is be more efficient, and we need to, concentrate on our market penetration and perhaps take a look at where we stand in reference to maybe getting into different markets. We're always looking at enhancing our delivery process from both a digital and an e-commerce standpoint, but that is very expensive. And for us, banks of our size, challenging. We have accepted that challenge, and we're moving forward, especially in the next 12 to 18 months to really implement, as a result of the pandemic, more services along those lines. To refer back to a comment that Rob made, even we see less traffic in our branches. We track that all the time, and that is a growing trend no matter what kind of bank you have. But if you're going to go back to the brick and mortar, there's always going to be a demand for brick and mortar, especially in markets that we're in. I read a survey the other day that said everybody, it was talking about individuals who open an account online and companies that opened online. And 62% of all the individuals who open an account online eventually wound up in a brick and mortar situation, in a location. 64% of the commercial accounts wound up there. Why is that? That goes back to what Albert said. People want to sit in front of people sometimes. They want to have that personal interaction. If you've ever had a complicated problem, okay, and made a phone call and been transferred 5 times, 6 times, that desire for that personal relationship isn't going to go away. And same thing Rob said, they're going to have stores. And we just have to continue to advance and offer what the younger generations find typical and normal, and still take care of our customer bases across the board.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Thank you, Brian. Albert, you touched a lot about how, you're coaching your clients through the current environment, but we talked a little bit earlier about high tech, high touch. In our world, it's the mix between the physical locations versus what you can do virtually, but making sure at the end of the day, we don't lose that personal touch. Can you just talk a little bit about how you strategically are going about being in the best position to help your clients navigate through this environment, and really how you are leveraging tech versus touch?
So thank you for that. For us, it's very simple. It's what do you want and what do you need?
Mm-hmm.
And if you want an in-person experience, which we prefer, we're open for business to do that. But if you need something virtually, well, that's just another communication tool that we've been availing to everyone. But we communicate with clients on a monthly or a bi-monthly basis. We do, as some of you know, who are not only panelists and colleagues, but some who are watching this Zoom, we do an every 60-day open mic call where we talk about the financial markets. And some folks will say, do you record that? And we say, well, we don't. And the reason we don't is because we're unscripted. We talk for 45 minutes and give people a chance to just hear what we're thinking and what we see coming, but more importantly, why. So we're very open about what our views are, and we're continuously willing to challenge our assumptions. And we think that communication strategy of just putting it out there and being accessible routinely with client follow-up, and our team being very accessible, makes all the difference in the world. And one other comment that I would make that I hope no one finds inappropriate. people talk about, yeah, can you reach out to so-and-so? Well, reach out to so-and-so doesn't mean a text message or an email. It means pick this up. That's what it means. Talk to a human being. It means go shake a hand. And so we drive that point home with our clients, with our team, because we believe at the end of the day, the best way to demonstrate that you are knowledgeable is repeated actions and empathy. And empathy really is an in-person thing that has to be demonstrated. Yeah. So that's how we're doing it. But we believe in getting out there and playing in traffic.
Yep. And I think, insights, ideas, solutions, but truly meeting people where they are and trying to be all things to all people, because I think where our businesses have come down to is in order to win and to be competitive, we have to give people what they want, when they want it, how they want it. And that's a challenge and an opportunity that, we will continue to deal with. I want to turn to the chat because we have a question that came in. And one of the questions came in is, with so much consolidation across the banking and financial industry, how has scale and market share, as opposed to volume, become paramount for moving forward? So, Rob, is it okay if I start with you on that one? How do you think that, scale and market share compared to volume is paramount to moving forward?
So volume's a difficult thing to measure because, it's not just, people definitely think store traffic, that's the primary way that banks generate, sales. But there's so many other avenues. There's telephone channels, there's mobile channels, there's digital channels. Even in a bank like ours, where we have closed down some stores here locally, our volume has actually increased. And we all have the luxury of being measured by the FDIC, so we can pull a scorecard every June 30th and see what our market share is in our different towns or different counties. Just about every bank that does manage their store count does continue to grow their deposit base. And we measure everything at TD very carefully to make sure that when we do close a store for the make decisions, they're not made overnight, they're made over a period of time. So it continues to grow. And the second it doesn't, I will be all over that to try to find out why is that happening. I think service, giving good service, no matter what the channel is, will result in the right outcome.
Right. So service, Brian, if I can turn to you, because, community banks, being close to the community, understanding what's important to your customers is key. So any additional comments that you want to add? Because for a community bank, you may not have as much of the market share or scale, but, you drive the needs of the community and reacting in a different way. So just be curious to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, we'd like to increase market share. Obviously, but that's not really, where we focus. We focus on service. We have to provide superior service because we can't compete with larger institutions across product lines. It just isn't the way we do business. I'll be Albert for a second here. I'm going to say something, and I hope it doesn't upset anybody. But the only difference between our bank and some other bank are our people. And I know everybody feels that way and everybody thinks that way. But we have to discharge that at a very, very high level. We have to have multiple levels of contact with each one of our customers. If somebody comes in to see me, they're going to have my cell phone number. Then they're going to have my chief lending officer. Then they're going to have a lending officer. Then they're going to have a retail person. I only have like 72 or 73 people, but they're going to have 4 levels of contact because that's where I have to live. That's where I have to compete. And that in itself should, over a period of time, continue to increase our market share and penetration.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Albert, from a personal perspective, there's been obviously the aging of the baby boomers. There's been so much new entrance into the whole world of personal banking, personal investing. What do you believe the key is to future success in terms of growing market share versus volume of your growing your clientele?
Education to what people actually need to do. Segmenting the channels of what people need at different stages of life, and really stressing unintended consequences of decision making that is driven by people's feelings, because that's where people get into a tremendous amount of trouble. We've used for a long time the economies of scale of a large firm to use those economies of scale in a boutique family office to serve our clients. So putting a big complicated scenario into the palm of their hand and delivering it in a way that they want to receive it. And so, you know, to try and be different than what my colleagues have said, differentiation is simply about showing up every day and working hard on behalf of a client to help them achieve their goal. And words are empty. Everybody uses words. I want to stay in the just actions and deliverables perspective, because then no words are required. People will innately understand that. And I think to a large degree, both Brian and Rob said that.
Yep.
And so we all, as service providers to our clients, need to be one of the most trusted contacts that they call when something goes wrong. Because most of them aren't calling to just check in on how are your pancakes at Jagelki's on Saturday and Sunday morning.
Right.
They're
So
not
speaking, right.
They're not,
So
they're not
speaking of
checking
that-
in on that.
Right. So speaking of trusted advisor, we have a few minutes left before we wrap up. So if I could, I'll just turn to each of you for some final comments. But what does it mean to be a trusted advisor? And is there any other final words you'd like to share with the audience? Rob, how about if I start with you?
Sure. I mean, to me, being a trusted advisor is being there for your client at all hours of the day, 7 days a week. You know, just like Brian does, you know, I give my cell phone number to everybody. I have a team of people that everybody gives out their cell phone numbers. You know, we want, and I encourage my team, you know, let's not have text conversations with our customers. Let's actually pick up the phone, as Albert said, and let's actually go out and meet with them face to face, because that's still the best way to do business. So I think being a trusted advisor is doing all those things, listening to what your customer needs, trying to offer a solution that works for them and works for the bank, and then executing on what it is that you say you're going to do and following up. I mean, it's very simple.
That's key. Brian?
Well, I think it's being there before your customer needs you. I think it's being proactive and being in a situation where you are, you know, interacting with your clients on a routine basis. And, you know, we did that through the pandemic, even though it was challenging. I think that the idea is that your client has to have faith in you, that when they need something, you're going to do the best you can to provide it to them. And the best way to do that is to stay in close contact with them and maybe try to anticipate their needs and just be there, you know, just be that person they can talk to, have faith. And, you know, kind of now just share their pain a little bit, to be candid with you. You know, the communication that we've been able to have with our clients is kind of interesting. It's in one way enhanced. I'll just give you an example outside of our client base, but Rob and I have talked a lot more in the last 6 to 12 months than we typically have. And, you know, that's what you need to do across your, you know, your competitors, your friends, your clients, everybody. And that's what go back to the beginning of communication. That's really what's important. And that's really, really what's important with your clients to gain trust.
No doubt. Communication and collaboration. Albert, 30 seconds. We'll give you the final word.
I don't know how I can do better than that, but I would say actions telegraph your intentions. And when actions are repeated and repeated frequently, trust goes from being borrowed to earned. And our phone rings at 2 a.m. once in a while, and we're there to answer it, because that's when people really need you. And to me, that's the only way you can be a trusted advisor, is showing up.
Yeah. Well, you just earned chocolate pretzels from Jagelki's. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it was great to be with all of you. One of the greatest things about South Jersey truly is the spirit of collaboration that all of us have. We've worked together for a lot of years, and I think that, all of the efforts and leadership of each of you continue to make this market special and prosperous. So it's been great to be with all of you, and I'll turn it back to Capital Analytics.
If everyone can just
Thank
hold
you,
for 1
Denise.
second, we're just taking a quick picture. Smile. Perfect. Appreciate it, everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. Just waiting for Josh Greenberg. Thank you, everyone. Josh, you're muted.
Thank you, panelists. What a great way to conclude our event. Good afternoon, everybody. For all of you who I have not had the pleasure to meet, my name is Josh Greenberg, and I'm the Executive Director of Invest South Jersey, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh. It's been amazing to meet and work with you, your colleagues, to put together the second edition of our Invest South Jersey publication. When I began this report in 2020, I felt at home. Well, I do live here. The amazing leaders who I met and encountered with throughout my journey were incredibly supportive, and we're excited about being involved in the first edition of the publication. Now today, releasing our second report, I'm humbled by what we've been able to accomplish in South Jersey's business community yet again. I cannot think of a better place to be able to work, live, and raise a family. Again, I'm walking the walk. My daughter just started first grade here in Haddonfield. Again, thank you all. Despite everything, real challenges by the pandemic and the subsequent variants, 2021 has been a real success. This is our largest attended event for South Jersey, and I think it really speaks volumes to the necessity of what we do right now, which is business intelligence, to attract and promote investments to the South Jersey region. Again, I'd like to thank our incredible sponsors for making today possible. Our gold sponsor, M&T Bank, silver sponsor, Ocean First Bank, bronze sponsors, Connor Strong, Gateway Mortgage, Title America. Our honored sponsors, First National Bank of Elmer, Fulton Bank, Flaster Greenberg, Fox Penberthy and Den at Morgan Stanley, HFM Investment Advisors, and TD Bank. Our team will be sharing a link to this conference afterwards so everybody can enjoy the digital edition of our publication complimentary. And while South Jersey might be newly released, we've just begun our research on our inaugural edition of Invest Pittsburgh. Stay tuned for more information there by registering for our newsletters at capitalanalyticsassociates.com, or you can reach out to me directly and send me an email at jgreenberg@capitalaa.com. Thank you again today for joining us, to our presenters, moderators, and panelists for your insightful words, and our sponsors for all of your supporting efforts. Thank you so much and have a pleasant afternoon.